Hey everyone, this is Adrian from my channel Random Drop. If you like our content, make sure to subscribe. We're more than halfway to 1,000 subscribers. From there, this channel's quality and content can grow quite significantly, and I hope that you stick around. But anyway, let's get back to the video. So, Assassin's Creed. I've been a fan of the franchise since the original, way back when, with those old ass PS3 demos and whatnot, all the way up until Assassin's Creed 3. After its unsatisfying ending, I kind of dropped the series. I didn't go back for Black Flag, even though I've heard that game is incredible, and really I only came back with Origins, which I did enjoy, but it was such a shift in the franchise. But I think it was more the setting that really sold me, as it was set in Egypt, and like it changed up the formula quite a bit from what it used to be. But after Origins, I tried to play a bit of Odyssey and kind of just fell off, as it was just like more of the same, and I just didn't really care for Ancient Greece that much. It didn't really feel like an Assassin's Creed game. And then Valhalla came out, and further, it just does not feel like a setting that was Assassin's Creed, and I just like didn't really care. But now, hey, we're in feudal Japan, Sengoku era, Oda Nobunaga, all that stuff. This is the time period people have wanted the Assassin's Creed franchise to go for a very long time. Ever since the first one, with the ending where it's like hinting where all the other pieces of Eden are, and it shows like symbols that may look like a Sengoku era Japan. But back then the franchise was really focused on verticality, and they really didn't know what they would do with a Japanese era Assassin's Creed game, as when you play Assassin's Creed Shadows, there's not many tall buildings, as naturally in Japan there's lots of earthquakes, so they really never built up high, and it only was really like a few castles and things like that. So back then, I guess it wasn't in the scope of what they wanted to do, but naturally the franchise changed and got wider and bigger and way more open, to where now they are fine with having flat lands of nothing and a bunch of forests to fill out the game. So when it was announced, I was pretty interested, although a bit late, as games like Ghost of Tsushima ate its lunch already. But hey, why not come back to this franchise I used to really like and give it another shot, as this is the era that would bring me back. Assassin's Creed Shadows is a neat portal into Sengoku era Japan. As with Ghost of Tsushima, it was set on an island, and you really didn't get to see much of society, right? It was a lot of camps and small villages compared to a lot of the really large cities and famous cities you visit in Assassin's Creed Shadows. The world is giant, feels lived in, and has hours and hours upon hours of content. It's a decent game, but sadly it has massive issues that shouldn't really exist in a AAA environment. When your game is this huge and you're putting this much money into it, there are things that are just unexcusable. I overall think Shadows is a decent game, and you're gonna get your money's worth for sure. But it's a game that I play while watching something else or I have a podcast on, as the game's loop grabs my lizard brain and it's very good at poking at it. But it truly fails to immerse me in the time period like some other games out there. I can't but help thinking back to my time with Kingdom Come Deliverance, as that was the first time I went into a game set in that era. But I've played dozens upon dozens of hours of Shadows, and it never truly immersed me into its world, making the game largely forgettable in the long run. I can't think of one standout moment I had playing through the game. The only real things that stand out to me when I think about it is things like, hey, it feels really good to play as Naoe and stealth around and assassinate people. And with Yasuke, it feels really good to kick people across the freaking map. Compared to things like Dragon's Dogma and the journey I had playing through that game, and the different battles I had, or again going back to Kingdom Come Deliverance and thinking about all the adventures I had with Hans and the other characters on that adventure. There's sadly nothing about Assassin's Creed Shadows that truly stands out narratively or with its world. It is simply a good game to play, and it has a game loop that is satisfying to the brain. So with this review, I mainly want to focus on the things that pull on that experience, keeping this game from being an all-time favorite, as again, this era should very much land with me, but it just totally misses the mark, sadly. I had fun playing it, I have fun playing it, but my critique brain says, hey, you're gonna forget about this in the long run, and it's something you'll never go back to. I simply, honestly, just have nothing better to play for the next week or two. But hey, let's get into the review. So first thing that comes to mind when I think of things that annoy me about Assassin's Creed Shadows is its really slow and clunky UI. It feels like the UI wasn't tested, or maybe was put in last minute, or like someone really stamped their feet and be like, no, it's gotta be this way. I don't want anything quick and easy. It's just so fucking slow, and nothing exemplifies it more whenever you're trying to desynthesize items or sell items, as every time you desynth or sell one item, it does a pop-up and be like, item sold, and it lasts like 2 or 3 seconds. Then you have to go to the next item and do that. And in a game filled with loot, when you're trying to vendor items or break them down, you're sitting there for like 5-10 minutes breaking every fucking thing down, because you have to watch it go one by one by one. And I looked around, man, maybe I missed it, but I was trying to see if there was a way to tag all them items at once and sell them all, but I simply did not find it. If I missed it, please let me know in the comments down below, because I didn't fucking see it anywhere, and it was driving me mad crazy to where I just didn't want to see vendors or upgrade my shit, because the menus are just so slow and clunky. And again, we're talking about AAA developer, where they have money of testing and things like that and feedback, and how does shit like this get through? Did no one really sit there and play this and be like, hey, our players are gonna be selling a lot of items, do we really want this like 5-second animation to play on every single item sold? Fucking no. You want to bap, get them all out of here. Let's keep on going. This game's already fucking long enough, right? Clearly it was a design decision. I feel like it's like someone in the dev room just stamping their feet and not letting go of this aspect, because like it's like the first thing you fucking notice. It's the first thing anyone would notice if they're like testing the game, being like, wait, why can't I sell this list of items? But the UI issues are kind of like all over the place with this game. Again, like menus just taking too long to load, or too many animations, too much flashiness, just not really a smooth experience. But again, nothing really exemplifies it more like the stuff I was just talking about. Next is AC Shadow's repetitive loop. After the game's first act, you kind of understand what the whole game is going to be like all the way up until the end. There are few unique missions, but they're very sparse, and most of the time it's going to be you traveling the world, getting information, and then using your scouts to uncover where you need to go next, and talking or killing the next person and getting more information to go to the next spot. There's hardly any real unique missions or setups or scripted events. There was one maybe like at the end of Act 1, but that was a bit more interesting, that leads to like a boss fight. But again, that stuff is few and far between, and you're not really on a roller coaster ride or anything like that. Not really like an interesting and guided experience, right? So whenever I play open world games like these, usually the side stuff is the stuff that's like, okay, hey, there's small little stories here, and then if you play the campaign, that's where you get the ups and downs, the bigger events, the castle sieges, you know, things like that, things that you will remember. Like, oh, I remember this one part of the campaign when I don't know how to dress up as a guard and walk around, or things like that, right? You usually pace your campaign to use different aspects of the game and reformat in different ways so that it gives a bit of a different experience. But there's really like very little or not really any in Assassin's Creed Shadows. A lot of the dialogue is just like you make a choice, but the thing was going to happen anyways, and it's very obvious they set it up that way. So it's like, why even give me a choice? As it doesn't feel like it's really going to branch off in any real significant way, other than maybe like a few lines. Again, so after like maybe the 10-15 hour mark, you finally get Yasuke, and he adds a different option for how you approach things. But it's an Assassin's Creed game. You want to be a stealthy person, stabbing people, not just charging through the front gate. So naturally, I just played him less overall. And there's other things that just maybe want to play him less as well, which I'll get into here in a bit. But yeah, it's again, you kind of get in this flow state with this game where you just turn on a podcast and just zone the fuck out and just start filling out points on the map. And there's just, again, nothing memorable coming out of it. I can't think of any examples of any interesting missions. No, it all just like runs and bleeds together. Some people will enjoy that, as again, it is just a game where you can zone the fuck out and kind of pick it up at any time, as the story is like not that complex. That leads to the iffy combat. Overall, I think the combat is fine, but there are aspects of it that are like super fucking annoying that just make me want to pull my hair out. I am playing on the harder difficulty because the base difficulty in most AAA games are usually a joke. And I'm right, as like this difficulty feels like a normal difficulty, other than the few like design choices that I'm just like super annoyed with and don't really like. So there is a parry system, and when they do blue attacks, they're going to do a flurry of attacks, and you want to parry all of those attacks. And when they do a heavy attack, it's red and it's unblockable. But the thing is, the unblockable attacks and the fast attacks and the normal attacks all share the same animations from what I can tell. So it's lots of the time you're just kind of like waiting around or getting caught off guard as they start doing an animation, and I'm instantly reacting. But oh, it happens to be red this time, it's gonna break through and kill you, and it's really fucking annoying. So now I'm like delaying my natural ability to like wait a second or so longer to see what color it is, then act on it. What really helped me with Yasuke is I found a piece of gear that lets me parry unblockables. My issue is that it shares the animations, and it's hard to tell that they're about to wind up for a heavy. But yeah, overall I would say the actual combat when you have to sit there and fight a bunch of people is like fine, but I wish it like just committed to like the full parry system or something, rather than this like weird mix matching and all their animations and all that stuff. It just doesn't really jive with me very well. It feels like a chore when I'm fighting someone as Naoe, which it should, but it feels like a chore for the wrong reasons, I guess I would say. And that leads me to Yasuke. In combat, when I am fighting a group or horde of enemies, I like playing as Yasuke. It's fun to kick dudes, it's fun to bulldoze through them and just chop them up with your fucking sword. It feels great. The problem is navigating the world. It feels like this game was not designed for him to be in it at all. As when I'm just trying to explore and run around, I'm accidentally bulldozing people over and breaking down doors and shit. It's super odd feeling, and the way he traverses is like he's a big fucking dude. And it's like awkward that you're like climbing over these walls and shit, and just like kind of breaks the immersion and things like that. Like it just like breaks my brain a little bit, especially when you like fast travel and yet end up at the top of one of the points Naoe would travel to, and you're like, how the fuck did Yasuke get up there? The dude can barely hop over a freaking ledge. So it feels really clunky to like actually explore the world. I really wish I had like the opportunity to switch to him when things go awry, when I'm trying to stealth into a building, something like that. Like, oh, now we fucked all this up, shit. Well, time to switch into Yasuke so he could just break through the front door and just fuck everyone up. Something like that I think would work better, or maybe they had their own missions that were designed around them. As like really, like I just don't use them much unless I'm just like, man, I really don't feel like stealthing through this giant building. I'm just gonna walk through the front door and fucking kill everyone, and then you do it. So in a lot of ways, it kind of destroys Naoe's gameplay if you just play as Yasuke, because what's the point of stealthing and taking all this time to run through everything? Or you can just play as Yasuke and literally obliterate everyone. But thankfully I have a lot of fun with the stealth and the assassination aspect of the game. I actually end up playing more as the assassin most of the time. And when I'm forced to play Yasuke, like I like it, but there's lots of points in the game where they want you to travel to a location as Yasuke, talk to someone as Yasuke. This mission or side quest only activates if you are Yasuke, and switching to him takes a load screen, and then you have to like wander the world as him. And again, it just doesn't feel great, as Naoe is just like zipping through and just jumping all over the place and whatnot. It feels like Naoe is a completely designed character and Yasuke isn't, in terms of how he would interact with this world. Because you would think, hey, this is the assassin person, this is the one who sneaks in, gets information, in and out, zip zap zoop. Okay, here's the samurai, a lot of honor and prestige and intimidation and whatnot, right? Instead of just being a bulldozer, but maybe he could talk his way through things because he's a samurai and he's kind of renowned around the area and whatnot, things like that. I think they could have done a better job of like, oh hey, you can sneak into this building and grab the information, or you can play as Yasuke and rough a couple people up, maybe talk to some people, navigate through the city, something, right? A bit more designed around that, or maybe switch between the two doing different things, rather than here's one way to kill people and here's another way to kill people. One is definitely way easier than the other, as you don't really get punished for slaughtering random people as Yasuke, and the same thing with Naoe. They even struggle to like call for help in the castle they're currently in, as you'll kill like 5 people, then the rest of the castle doesn't even fucking know what's happening. And there's a game that did this implementation way better. It is called Ghost of Tsushima, where Jin has a
samurai mode or an assassin mode, and the way he approaches problems is completely different. With the samurai mode, where he would walk in and be like, give me your strongest fucker, I will fight him, and then ends with this duel, and it either gives him like a crazy buff to where he can slaughter everyone if he wins the duel, or the whole encampment runs in fear because he's such a monster. It's such a cool idea, and like dives into that fantasy, and it's really odd that they like just didn't take that idea at all, and more it's just like, oh, here's a big lumbering assassin, and here's this like nimble, way quicker one. Which one do you want to play? Yeah, it feels really odd. Again, Ghost of Tsushima does this so goddamn perfectly, and it even ties to the themes of the game, and the way you play and interact with the world is very different, and it's just like not really the case with Assassin's Creed Shadows, to where it feels like you are playing one complete character that's completely designed for this game, and one that is like shoddily implemented. And with my last point is, I can really play through a lot of stuff and not really care if a narrative grabs me, if the world grabs me, if its themes grab me. I will put up with really repetitive gameplay. Again, Ghost of Tsushima was that. That game gets really repetitive to a certain point, but it was its themes and story and total vibe that kept me going and kept me interested all the way to the end. And sadly, Assassin's Creed Shadows has a lot of weird and odd narrative and musical choices that just pull you the fuck out of it completely. It's some like really hack writing shit. And again, when you're putting this much money into a franchise and this much work into it, how do you let things like this get by? I really would want to know, what were people discussing when these scenes were implemented, or just thinking about the vibe of the game, right? Because vibes can totally sell a game. You can have really shit gameplay with like 30 frames per second and shit like that, but if the vibe is right, people will play it and enjoy it. Look at the fucking original Nier franchise, or things like Stalker. They put up with shoddy ass gameplay, but the vibe was there. What the world that they were trying to sell was totally there. So yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows is not that at all. Another example is when you're gonna assassinate this person and they don't know you're there to assassinate them, and you're looking at their gun on the wall and you use it to kill them. Well, why is that musket loaded? Why is there gunpowder and a bullet loaded into a gun that was put on the wall? I understand she uses that gun, but like no one would actually put a fucking loaded gun in that way, especially a musket, which requires multiple steps to make sure it fires. But now he just pulls it off the wall and just shoots it. It's really fucking stupid and like super forced. It's like, oh man, wouldn't this scene be cool? And like someone in the room was like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't care though, I think this is cool. And it just, again, breaks the whole vibe of the game. I don't know if this game is trying to be serious or goofy, because the music and the cutscenes that are happening make it seem like they don't give a fuck about history or accuracy or giving off the true vibe of what it was like to live in that era. And then in other scenes, it seems like they're really trying to like respect it, right? It's all over the fucking place. And that leads to the main protagonists, right? Story-wise, is wet paper bags, man. They're uninteresting. There's like an interesting aspect of Yasuke being an outsider, but they do very little with it. Like, honestly, very little with it. You think more would happen and there would be a bigger story there, but everyone just kind of accepts him instantly in a weird way. And he's like just very good at everything he does. He learns to be a samurai in like a couple months and shit like that, and has only been there a couple years, and he's like one of the best fighters suddenly. It's really odd. And Naoe is just like a very honorable. She is like Jin in a lot of ways, but she doesn't have that conflict like Jin has, of the honor and what needs to be done, right? It's like, hey, these people are killing my people. I need to do whatever I need to do whatever I can to win this fight. I don't give a fuck about honor. And then his uncle being disappointed in him, and that whole conflict throughout the whole game, which culminates all the way up until the end, right? Like some guy following honor all the way to where he's gonna disown his own family member. It's really interesting. There's just like nothing like that with Naoe. It is very much, it's just like, oh, you killed my family and burned my village. It's just like a generic revenge story, and you kind of get nothing out of it. The best aspects of her are when she's like interacting with Jinjuro or interacting with Yasuke, and the two are like giving each other shit and just talking for a bit. But those scenes are few and far between. It's just, there's no conflict there. There's nothing interesting about these relationships in the game at all. And the main casts are kind of just like accepted and just really good at what they're doing, and they don't fail at any point, and it just feels gray, boring, and flavorless. I wish the characters were better, but they overall just come off as super boring. There are like little snippets of like things I like about them, but there's just like not enough there to chew on, and how it's spread out and placed all over the fucking game at random points, it just makes it hard to find and enjoy. And lastly is like the questionable voice acting. Like, it's Japanese, and then it was like, oh hey, you have to voice act in English. I don't think it works. As you can clearly tell, there's voice actors that are very good at both or pretty decent at both, and it's like, oh hey, you can understand them, and it doesn't come off as like a weird racist caricature. Or that's how it comes off to me, right? Is like, oh man, they really have this hard accent, they're really struggling here to get these words out, while there's other Japanese speaking people who are like very competent at it and very good, and you're like, it kind of makes it seem off and weird. It's like, wait, why are there people struggling with words and some aren't? It basically feels uneven and all over the place, and that is because they chose to have actual Japanese people voice acted in English, and I think that's just like was the wrong choice. I think the Japanese people should just voice act in Japanese in their native language, which they do, and you should probably play this game in Japanese, and it's like Japanese and Portuguese, right? But for like the actual English dub, it's like really bad. It's so odd. And the thing is, like, Persona, Atlas Games, the Yakuza franchise that are very, very Japanese, they don't do that. They just get English voice actors for their dubs, which makes way more sense, because you don't get this weird thing where like people are struggling to speak English. It's just like this weird like disconnect I have. As of course they're gonna struggle if they're like voice acting in a different language and being forced to, but like I feel like that shouldn't be the case, and they should just give me a dub. How Yakuza does it is how Yakuza and the Persona series and those games do it very well, is they still make it feel Japanese by keeping things like senpai in and sensei and things like that, right? Keeping the honorifics in their language, because it's not really something we use. And all those honorifics are removed in the dub. In the English dub, the voice acting is just like all over the fucking place. It should not be that way. And that's my last point on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like I said, I think the game is fine and I'm enjoying it, but obviously this is a $70 game, and I think they were asking like 100 or 120 at some point with some of the deals Ubisoft is doing. And it's just like, fuck off. Especially like with some of the quality shit that they're pulling out. AC Shadows kind of exemplifies what's wrong with AAA at the moment. As they chase further heights, other things like fall back and are just not good or not as up to snuff to be like, well, you're trying to make all these graphics and this big world and this last 100 hours, but the voice acting is bad. The combat is uninteresting. The mission design is lackluster. And there's things that just should not be, that are game focused, that are about just playing a game, that just fall apart. And that's like where AAA is at the moment. It feels like this game was trying to fill an hours meter rather than giving you a memorable experience. And there's a balance, right? You do want a memorable experience, but you don't want it to be over in 6 hours. And you want a long game that lasts you a bit, that is worth your money, but you don't want it to be like written like shit and overall forgettable in the end. You want a good experience, good for your money and your time spent. And just with AC Shadows is like, I can't confidently say that your time is worth spending here. There are other games and other games that have done similar things that are way more worth your time. And that's where I land. AC Shadows is fine, but honestly, there's better things you should be playing out there, especially at this price point and quality. Let me know how you feel down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next random drop.